Yeah, never easy. Part of the game, though. We felt like, we wanted to win both these today and kind of leave town on a sweep, but just didn't do the little things right. Defense kind of fell apart on us a little bit.
Just, you're one of the veteran guys on the team. Do you feel like you have to kind of remind just everyone to just kind of slow it down a little bit sometimes, or how do you look at it?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's about execution and kind of thinking one step ahead and knowing, especially on defense, what we need to do. And at the end of the day, we gotta make the plays, and on me today, just kind of a do or die one, and obviously didn't make the play. So everyone, I think, we felt like that one slipped away a little bit.
Oh, just 3 innings away from a sweep. We were getting our brooms ready here on Boston has entered the chat. Welcome into the Salem 5 studio. Travis Thomas, George Balekji. So close. The Sox were so close to a sweep until they weren't, George.
I'll tell you what, I never got off my couch to get the broom out of the closet. You know me, man. Hey, got the series win. Good for them. Still below 500. We see the bad defense. We see miscommunications. Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer misplaying that ball in the right field. You'll hear from Roman Anthony in just a bit. But this is a team, again, time and time again, in a bullpen game. Just the context of it, in a bullpen game because of the doubleheader.
Sure.
Blow the Reds out of the water, game 1. Bayo in a relief appearance in game 2 gets the job done. Awesome.
Yeah.
Game 3, up 3-0, late in the game. Grand slam opens it up. Then it's 6-4, and you go, all right, this is still tangible. It's right there.
Yeah.
Then a misplayed ball by Trevor Story. Error on him. Marcelo Meyer makes the wrong decision going third when he should have held or thrown it home to hold up the runners. And all of a sudden, 6-4 becomes 8-4. Right? And it's just, we see this time and time again. It's a spotty defense. It's a spotty decision-making. It's a spotty base running, and it's a bullpen that can't get the job done. What's tough is, the world knows Greg Weissert, he's on E right now.
You got to get him out of there, bro.
Exactly.
Get him out of there.
You have to help your guys. Greg Weissert's done phenomenal this season until as of late. And guess what? As a pitcher, when your arm is shot, your arm is shot. What can you do?
Yeah.
Why the long leash? Why Garrett Whitlock just sitting there?
Yes.
And this is what it is with this team. Why is all of this still happening on July mother effing 3rd?
Yeah, July 3rd, July 4th Eve is what I call it. But, listen, you're right. You're right, George. Everything you said, it almost feels like Alex Cora sometimes. And this is a gift and a curse. It's a gift sometimes when a skipper does stick with certain things. In the world of analytics and all that, it is refreshing sometimes to have a skipper say, nope, this is what we're doing. This is a baseball decision, my gut feel. Right? But then sometimes it's a curse because I'm screaming, get this guy out of the game. But every now and again, Cora just sticks with whatever game plan he has in his head. Nope, we're sticking with it. And it comes back to bite him late in these games. I also think this just feels like growing pains for a young team, doesn't it? Isn't this kind of the reality? You brought up the other 2 games in the series where this team sort of put it together and you're thinking sweep. And then this game happens. You did win the series. Let's pump the brakes a little. So there is some silver lining, but it does feel like the maturation of a young team. And this is part of it. And these are the growing pains. The issue is, as you grow, these pains hurt so bad because you could have had a sweep.
Yeah.
Again, silver lining here. Now you go to the nation's capital, George. How many times have we said this? If we had a nickel for every time this season, we said there should be a sweep, and it never ends up being it. But this is yet another example. This should be a sweep.
And we should see coming up what they can do. You have the Nats, you have the Rockies, you have the Rays.
Sweep. Now, Rays will be different.
4-game series to end right before the All-Star.
Rays will be different.
Yeah, sweep. Take 2 out of 3 against the Nats. You have to sweep the Rockies.
Yes.
And then split with the Rays. That's winning 7 of your last 10 games before the All-Star break.
You're in good shape.
And then that puts you 2-3 games above 500.
Yes.
That changes a lot about this team, and we would see at that point what it does, and that's the momentum you need. But that's all it's been. Here's what you have, here's what you should do, and here's what you need to get done.
Sure.
They should have taken 2 of 3 against the Angels, and they get swept by them.
Oh.
They should have been swept by Anaheim twice this season.
How about the Orioles series? How about, you're right.
But that's what it is with the team, and it's tough. It's tough. If you look at the lineup that we've been seeing be rolled out night in, night out, including Narvaez starting behind the dish, this is a team with take out Trevor Story, No one else has more than 4 years of service time at the MLB level. Like Jared Duran, yeah, he's 28, about to be 29, but he's still green to some sense of major league experience.
Sure.
Meanwhile, you have a 21-year-old Roman Anthony. You have Marcelo Myers still getting his feet wet, now playing different positions defensively.
That's right.
Well, mind you as well, to add to that. But it's the rest of this team. It's just you see young mistakes. You see young baseball being played. And when Craig Breslow goes on Nesson pregame, is talking with TC, and TC throws, hey, the models have you 15, 20% chance to make the playoffs. Do you recognize that? Does that push you? And he goes, well, those models just simply say we need to win more games. Awesome. He also said in Craig Breslow that we're not waving the white flag when we trade Rafael Devers. He also said, well, I think when we look back after this season, we will win more games than we would have with Rafael Devers. You need to add. You cannot ship out a top 5, top 10 bat in baseball and not add a top caliber talent in some facet. And even when Alex Bregman comes back, you need to add. Even when Masataka Yoshida comes back,
still have to
you need to add.
That's right.
So if you're not waving the white flag and you're saying we need to win more games, what are you going to do to help them win more games? Because they need help. They can only do so much. And when you have bullpen games, that's tough, man. That's the part of baseball, like, that's just tip your hat. You better have a good day that day. And they did for the most part. And then we saw it in an inning go up in flames. But this is the thing, when we keep hearing, and we keep hearing the accountability, like from Trevor's story, and we hear the front office saying, no, we need to win more games. We want to win more games. We're still in this. You could keep saying it. You could keep having accountability. Eventually, you want change in the right direction. Eventually, you want solutions to your issues. Where's it coming from the players, and where's it coming from Craig Breslow? Because that's where the frustration lies in all of this. You took a series, awesome. You're still below 500, and you're 3 games out of that wild card spot.
Man, you are preaching right now. I took notes on what you're saying, and it's things I want to talk about on the other side of the soundbite, because you mentioned the second half of the season, trade deadline. We're going to learn a lot here in July as we talk about, the schedule's soft leading into the All-Star break. Well, when you come out of the All-Star break, it is hellacious, okay? So we'll talk about that, because all these things, George, happen pre-trade deadline. So once you get to the deadline, buyers, sellers, it depends where you're at. So we'll have that discussion. I want to keep it to last night, though, because you mentioned, and you teased this, Roman Anthony, hey, he took ownership over his mistakes, but just in general, this team made mistakes late in this game last night against the Reds. Here's Roman Anthony. Take a listen.
Just bad communication on my end. I'm the outfielder coming in, he's going back, and the ball just kind of stayed up. So I got to make that play and got to, make that throw at the very least. But, that one's on me. Just got to call him off there as the right fielder, knowing that that's my priority. So.
The throw, was that a grip issue, or was just...
No, it just can't happen. Regardless of what happened, I just grabbed it and threw it, and got to get under control there and at least get an out. So, not blaming the grip. That play's got to be made.
Okay, let's put last night to bed. Again, they won the series. We'll hang our hats on that. We want to hear from you, though, on the state of the Sox. Email us at chat@NESN.com. Tweet at us using the hashtag NESNChat, or call us 617-790-0928. We always play voicemails. Keep it clean. It's a family program, okay? Now, George, let's go back to the topic at hand here, because we sort of laid out a beautiful table for how the Sox can feel good about themselves going into the All-Star break. And the schedule has set up for that to be the case. We'll see if they execute that, okay?
Yeah.
After the All-Star break, oh, my God. You come out, you're at Wrigley. Then you go to Philly. Then the Dodgers.
Stop right there. First place, all in their division.
Yes. Then the Dodgers are the Avengers, okay? Yeah. They come here to Fenway. I mean, bro, right out of the gate, your first 9 games are hell on earth.
And that's why there has to be that urgency against the Nats, the Rockies, and the Rays. They're bad teams. You need to beat bad teams. You need to sweep awful teams like the Colorado Rockies.
Yes.
And that's why, because you look at the other side of that. Get the rest. Let the bullpen break down. Get rest up. Healthy. We'll see when Bregman's back. If it's before or after the break, but, everything we're hearing, he's progressing well and could be sooner rather than later, and that's fine. Masataka Yoshida, we see him at Worcester, taking reps at first base. Whatever. But when you get everything back, and when you get back to full strength and you get rested, you need to do it now, because calling that a gauntlet is underrated. The lineups and the pitching you're about to face is going to either make or break your season.
It is.
Because we could keep saying, they're 2 games below 500. They're back above 500. They're just outside the wild card race. You can't just hang in limbo all season long. Baseball is way too difficult of a sport. What's been this team's record? We keep going back on the year since the 2021 ALCS run. 500, just below it. 500, just below it. That's what it's been with this team. Absent from the playoffs, that can't happen anymore.
Sunday afternoon, July 27th, is the last game in that series against the Dodgers here at Fenway. We're going to know exactly what this team's going to do at the trade deadline at that moment. We're going to know. Based on where they are in the wild card standings, based on how the team's playing, I think at that moment, George, because the deadline's what, the 31st? We'll know by then. It's like, hey, yes, we can talk all day about pre-All-Star break, but coming out of that break, if you're healthy, all the things you said, everyone back in the lineup, all hands on deck, so to speak.
Yeah.
If you can stand toe-to-toe with these heavyweights we're talking about, Phillies, Cubs, Dodgers, then obviously go get something, go for it, add to this team, and go for it in a wide-open American League. Now, we're talking National League and these gauntlets of teams. That's a National League. That's their problem. But the Sox have to show they can stand toe-to-toe against those guys to possibly win the American League, which doesn't have as many dominant teams. I think by that last Dodgers game, we'll know exactly what this team will do at the deadline, buyers or sellers.
And I think we know what this team is right now, though. But why?
But we know what they need.
Why do we have to wait for them to see all those Titans to make a decision? Why not make it now, before you have this cakewalk in front of you?
Fair.
Why not make it now, right before the All-Star break? Why not make it now? Because you know how it goes. The closer you get to the trade deadline, the higher the prices go up.
That's
because
right.
more teams are in the conversation, more teams are bidding. Why wait? Why? They need help. This team is good. The team is talented. But
Yes.
this team isn't winning games. So why wait to face all those first-place teams?
I agree.
Why wait to possibly dip further below 500 and see your chance of making the postseason go from 16.5 down to 12?
Sure.
Why wait? That's what I don't understand. Because you didn't wait to trade Rafael Devers. You
That's
didn't.
right.
You were urgent on that.
The timing, we could argue, was like, hey, this team, you just swept the Yankees. Hold off a bit. Wait till trade deadline for him. And maybe the price would be higher and what you got back in return would be better.
You were urgent to ship off Rafael Devers. Why are you not urgent to add to this team? As you say, you're not waiving the.
I think it's a fair point. I will say this, though, because likely you and I both know it will likely be the deadline for whichever it is, buyers or sellers, right? There is, if they are sellers, if they are buyers, there's always mercenary bats available at the deadline. Now, the price will be higher, but there's always mercenary bats available, and that's what this team needs, George, particularly in the middle of the lineup.
And they need arms. They need arms. Like Walker Buehler, isn't it? And he said, whatever role they want, whatever wins games, I'll do it. I am a starter, but hey, if that's not me, then fine.
Yeah.
They need an arm. They need a rotation, a bullpen arm, and you're right, they need a mercenary bat or two.
But there's always mercenary bats available. That's the one thing we can hang our hat on here with the Red Sox. If they are in position at the deadline to be buyers, go get one. Email us at chat@nesson.com. Tweet at us using the hashtag NessonChat. Call us 617-790-0928. We want to hear about what you think of the state of the Sox right now. Right now, what I would describe me as, George, is cautiously optimistic. I do believe they will make hay here before the All-Star break. I've been consistent with saying that. You know that. Mm-hmm. I told you by the time we get into the All-Star break, I believe this team will, at the time I said comfortably in a wild card position. I don't think comfortable anymore, but I do think they'll be closer to a wild card position, if not in one, by the time we get to the All-Star break. My question will be the rest of the month as we get closer to the deadline.
I don't think we'll ever be comfortable with this team.
I know.
I think it's just always going to be walking the line of anxiety when it comes to what they're doing this season.
Lord have mercy. Coming up here on Boston Has Entered the Chat, we will switch gears and go to what's trending in the world of sports and the holiday tomorrow. That's right, for America, right here on Boston Has Entered the Chat. Roll with us, and remember, get the latest up-to-date live. We've got Boston sports headlines along with your daily dose of trending sports and social topics every weekday morning right here on Boston Has Entered the Chat. Catch us live at 8 a.m. on Nesson and 9 a.m. on you know where, Nesson Nation, every Monday through Friday. Roll with us. We'll be right back. Stay with me before we go to break. Dame recovering from an Achilles.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum recovering from an Achilles.
Yeah.
Dame now at this point, he got to be pennies on the dollar. Mm-hmm. Celtics right now kind of need everything, but certainly a point guard. Do you bring a Dame in and you say, hey, man, chill with Jason. Go on and recover. We got you. And then in 2 years, you get Tatum, Dame, Jaylen Brown, Derek White. Now we cooking with gas. Even Dame at an older age, I feel like that works.
If Dame accepts his role, which is running not just the backup squad, but maybe like the deep end of the bench guys, then yeah, it's all about accepting his role, what he'll be. I don't know what he's going to be physically. Tatum, much younger, coming off a torn Achilles, is a lot more different than Damien Lillard coming off a torn Achilles.
All I'm saying is this. Why not? Why not? What do you have to lose? George Niang's on your team.
All I have to say is this.
Luka Garza.
That was said, I think, around the time of, Now on the show yesterday.
Yes.
And then what do you know after? Celtics interested in Damian Lillard.
Yeah, we don't want to start no stuff, but
who's that
we were
calling you,
first.
Brad Stevens?
Yeah, we were first. Hey, Brad, yeah, how you doing, man? Yeah, I'm doing the show. What you need? Oh, yeah, go do that. That's how that works. Brad watches the show and listens, and then the other shows watch us, and they copy. That's how it goes. We were first, George.
Tomorrow it's going to be saying, trade for Giannis. Go get Wemby.
I'm okay with that. By the way, punching the little numbers here. So Dame is making 22 M's from the Bucks, right? Mm-hmm. The Celtics could offer 5.7, which nowadays is pennies on the dollar, as crazy as that sounds, for a player of Dame's magnitude. Now we understand he's long in the tooth, he's coming off injury, he's coming off a lot of stuff. I don't hate this, George. And by the way, I'm in the camp of, and we can have this discussion, but I'm in the camp of, if you bring him in and he's healthy, do we have a point guard controversy? Now we always say a quarterback controversy. I'm just saying, maybe Peyton Pritchard is not the starting point guard. Maybe Peyton Pritchard is sixth man, because he's sixth man of the year. Maybe you keep him in that role, and Dame Lillard could earn the start. I'm not saying give anything. Peyton Pritchard should be the starting point guard right now, okay? Hear me out. But maybe Dame being here, if he's healthy, all of a sudden you're like, Peyton Pritchard, you go back to the bench, bro. Dame's the guy. Am I nuts? Well, yes, the answer is yes. But is this a crazy take?
If he has to be the starting point guard for him to want to come and play here, I'm not doing it. I don't know what he's going to be. 35 years old, coming off a torn Achilles. That recovery at that age is real. And it's going to take some time. If he comes in and whatever his role is, he's willing to embrace it. As I said yesterday, he's willing to embrace it, and you get him at the mid-level, you do it. You add a guy that's a closer that will put away teams for playoff series, not just quarters, not just games, not in the regular season, in the postseason. And that's why you go out and get a Damian Lillard. The money makes sense. That's why the Celtics are interested.
That's right.
Let's start there. Everything about this team isn't basketball right now. It's business.
Yes.
And it's about standing on business, too, of getting under that second apron, staying under that, getting this team back to being affordable, navigating the new NBA, and when Jason Tatum is back, being back to contending. And if Damian Lillard is down for whatever role it may be because his priority is winning, then yes, you bring him in. I don't care who starts at point guard. It should be Peyton Pritchard. And that's me projecting what I think of a 35-year-old, I'll say the age a million times, coming off a torn Achilles in the NBA.
I think that's fair.
But he can still be a guy that contributes. And as you see with the Celtics, this isn't a 6-7 deep team. When they are clicking and the roster's built out how Brad Stevens wants it, they are 8-9 deep in the postseason. And what is it for at this point for Dame? He did the loyalty stuff, man. He did the superstar.
He did it too long.
He teamed up. He teamed up. He did it all except win a ring.
That's right. Which is, look, to your point, if you're Dame, you have to be thinking about your legacy now. You better be. Because if you don't win a ring, or at least go on a really deep playoff run, where that's our lasting memory of you. If he goes to Eastern Conference Finals, I'm just saying this with the Celtics on the way out, and loses, okay, that's a pretty good taste in your mouth for his career at the end, right? It's not the injuries. It's not the Bucks failed experiment. But if Dame doesn't do that, if he doesn't chase a ring, in other words, that legacy's not good. We're not going to remember those shots you're talking about. We're not going to remember the great player he was. We're not going to remember the superstar. The legacy becomes he stayed too damn long in Portland. And that's the truth. We're all for loyalty, George. We get it. But at some point, he needed to look around, smell the roses literally out there in Portland, right? And say, get me the hell out of here while I still have something in the tank so I can go win a title or at least be in the playoffs every year. He tried it with Milwaukee. I didn't hate the move.
No.
However, it was too late. He was too old. His body started breaking.
And that was the issue with it. And if he doesn't get that ring, how he'll be remembered as. For us, a bucket. but for everyone else, it'll be a loser.
Yeah.
I hate to do this to Dame.
I do too.
It's Carmelo Anthony.
Oh, God.
But what did Melo do at the end of his career? With Portland, with the Lakers, embraced his role. And that was some of the best basketball I've ever seen him play. Actually, it was the best. If Damien Lillard does that, you got to eat the ego at some point. If you want to win and you realize Father Time is looking you down the pipes, you have to adjust at that point. Drop the ego, drop everything, go and take what to win. The Celtics see it and are looking into it because of the money. But now they have to look into it, okay, you're going to rehab for a year with Jason Tatum, and when you're both back, we're back to contending. What I think Dame should do, I sit out. I wait for the landscape of the NBA to change again. Look what the Hawks and the Rockets did overnight. Who knows what is next and who falls off and then who surges up. And then I'm making my deal. I'm going to rehab. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to take my time. And again, with the second apron, teams going all in and falling off, I'm going to wait for the dust to settle. That's what I do if I'm Damian Lillard.
Not me. I'm going to Boston first thing smoking. But I'll say this. I want to shoot Melo some bail here. Melo was not about loyalty. Yes. Melo was about money.
Him.
He was about money.
And him.
And Melo, big picture legacy, he has gold medals falling out of his pocket.
That's cool, man. That's awesome. You beat,
he does.
You beat Trinidad and Tobago, and you beat Lebanon on your way to get Olympic medals. Awesome. When you have the best players in the country. I'm done with that with him, bro. It doesn't matter.
Trinidad and Tobago?
I don't even know if they have a team. I know Lebanon doesn't. Trust me. Hey, they got ballers. They got ballers. Some of them are Armenian. But what it comes down to, man, at the end of the day, in the best league in the world, can you win? And in the best league in the world, you have to make the right decisions for yourself talent-wise to win. Miss me with that, man. Oh, he won a Q's as a freshman. Awesome. That was an epic run.
I didn't even throw that in.
People couldn't break a 2-3 zone. Oh, he won these FIBA. I don't care. The hardest league, the toughest competition, the most grueling regular and postseason in basketball. Can you win there? Not when you have LeBron to your right, whoever to your left. No. Can you win on an NBA floor? Melo never did it, and Lillard's on that track.
I'm not going to lie, man. Way this damn Celtics roster is looking right now. Give me Melo. Give me Dame. Hell, what's Sham God? What's he doing?
Oh, he's coaching in Orlando now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, does he still have eligibility? Let's get him to suit up. All right, let's move on to what's trending in the world of America. 4th of July, that's what's trending. Let's talk about all the things. Grilled food, drink. Not drinks. That drink. Okay? You heard me.
I knew that was coming.
Fireworks. Break it all down. Let's go favorites.
One more thing.
What?
Drank.
That drink. You know what it is. Okay, so look, let's start with that drink. You drinking liquor tomorrow, or you going beer? Or wine with your pinky up like this?
No, definitely no. You don't do wine. It's a Bud Heavy. It's a Surfside.
Oh, you're full American.
Oh, yeah, I'm going Bud Heavy. I'm going some Surfsides. Maybe finish off with some Mick Ultras. The more important thing to me is the food, because then you wash it down with a good drink. I need a cheeseburger, double stack. I need 2 hot dogs. Need a little salad, always some green in there.
Yeah, a little bit.
And the key piece, steak tips. You leave the room for the steak tips.
Oh, you're fancy.
I'm not doing no mashed potato salad. I'm not doing no mac and cheese. I want as much protein as possible. Look, man, end of the day, I'm a meathead from Jersey. And when it comes to 4th of July, I'm staring at a body of water, having good drinks, and having protein. Give me the good marinated steak tips.
I'm stuck on the Bud Heavies. If I drink one Bud Heavy, I have a headache for 6 days. Like, I don't know. I love America as much as the next guy, but damn, them Bud Heavies hit too hard. I'm with you on the grilled food, though. I don't have a problem with steak tips. I don't do it, though. I'm just going burgers and dogs. I keep it real simple on July 4th on the grill. Not that I can't do all those things, but for July 4th specifically, I keep it simple. I used to do the liquor. I'm old now. I had to do beer. I got kids to watch. I got things to do. Now, as far as fireworks go.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to lie, man. I don't enjoy it anymore. You know why? I have young kids, man. I have a family of 4.
You got responsibility.
What? You know how much stuff I'm carrying, George? My neck and my back hurting from coolers. And Travis, well, we need the blankets. Well, don't forget the chairs. Well, who's carrying all this? Me. That's who. And it's too much. Then I have to deal with parking. I had to deal with traffic after the fireworks. No one ever talks about after the fireworks.
Get out.
I need something with a rooftop where I can just walk up, watch them, and come back in the crib. Or maybe walk to the fireworks. I need something like that, George. I am being worked to death by my family.
Look, you know, man, I'm hurting moving out of Boston, living in Wakefield, but this is what it's going to be for me. Brush off that grill at 8. Finish off the last bites at 8:30. Walk to the lake with a cold drink. Quanah Poet's right there, 10-minute walk.
Bud Heavies.
Watch. it finishes up, I turn around and go home. No traffic, no cooler, no kids. I'm enjoying it while I got it.
And he's bloated from all
By
the
that point of the night, no Bud Heavies, bro. No Bud Heavies.
We'll be back.
Tito's and lemonade. That's what crushes at that
We'll
point.
be back with more of Boston Has Entered the Chat. You gotta love America. More America next here on Boston Has Entered the Chat. Roll with us.
Welcome back to Boston Has Entered the Chat. So we were talking about the Red Sox earlier. They did beat the Reds 2 games out of 3, despite how negative I was.
You weren't negative. You weren't negative.
I'm a truther.
You were keeping it real.
I'm a realist.
You weren't negative.
My man.
Yeah.
But first leg of the doubleheader, they did win as well. So they win the series, unlike the 1975 World Series, but which is known as the greatest World Series of all time. So we want to bring on an institution of knowledge and sports in Boston. Let's bring him in, our guy, Steve Buckley from The Athletic. Steve, good morning. Thanks for joining the chat, my friend.
We are not worthy.
When you call somebody an institution, that's another way, a nice way of saying they're very, very old. So yes.
I think it's more of you say the name and it carries a lot of weight wherever they go. But hey, it's all respect coming from us. And Steve, I think the best part, we bring you on, we see that series. Red Sox get the win, but the article you put out on The Athletic, the Reds beat the Red Sox in epic 75 series, but NESN won the reunion with its throwback telecast. First off, thank you for recognizing the really, really hardworking people that put out those Red Sox games, the crew that works it game in, game out, all 162 and then some. But I want to start with when you saw those 1975 graphics come up in the 3rd inning. What were the memories it brought you back to of that 75 World Series?
You know, oddly enough, when I see the graphics, I think of the bars I used to go to when I was I love that. I was an 18-year-old college freshman at UMass Boston when the season began.
Wow.
In the 75 World Series, I was a 19-year-old sophomore at UMass Amherst because I had transferred during the summer. And so to me, the first thing I think of when I think of the 75 season is opening day. I mean, yes, I was at games 1 and 2 of the World Series and all that, but I will always think of game 1 of the season because Tony Conigliaro made his second comeback and was the Red Sox designated hitter. And Hank Aaron was in the lineup for the Milwaukee Brewers. It was he had broken the home run record the year before and then went back to Milwaukee to end his career with the Milwaukee Brewers. So it was his first game in the American League against the Red Sox at Fenway Park, and I had to be there. It was a huge thrill for me.
Love that. You bring it back to the game 1 of that series. What about game 6? We know the Pudge Fisk walk-off home run, one of the biggest plays in baseball history, one of the biggest moments. Where were you for that moment?
I was in my dorm at UMass Brown out in Sylvan. And in confession, I missed the Carbo home run. They were down 6-3, and I was so upset. And I had something I had to get done for school that was pressing. And we had a little TV room that had suites in Brown, and they had all these suites with a little TV room. But 12 of us were in there. And I said, well, screw that. And went back into my room to work on whatever it is that I was doing. It's so important, I can't remember it. So I went running in after Carbo hit the home run. Then, of course, I stayed in that room through the game. And then Fisk hit the home run. All UMass went crazy. UMass didn't need much reason to go crazy in those days, as you probably know. And but all of a sudden, it was like the miracle of fishes and loaves. Everybody was out. Everybody had a beverage. There was toilet paper flying out of the windows. It was quite a scene.
I actually have a selfish question for you because I was looking at that infamous Sports Illustrated cover with Jim Rice and the late, great Dave Parker, the Cobra. 2 things jumped out to me. Number 1, how big Dave Parker was. Like, I work with Jim Rice every day. He is not a small guy. So seeing how big Dave Parker was really stood out to me. What do you remember about that cover? And also, talk to me about Jim Rice, the player. Steve, it was before my time. I've become friends with him as a coworker. He's great to me. He's been great for my career. But I didn't get to see him play. It was before my time. Can you talk to me about Jim Rice, the player, as well?
Jim Rice was sick. His for a man that big, and he was big, even though he looks like, as I wrote in the column, he looked like an American Legion second baseman in that photo with Dave Parker, which illustrates how big Parker was. But not only was Rice big and strong, but he had a really sweet swing and a fast swing, incredible bat speed. And I remember about 15 years ago, I was emceeing a banquet for, I think, the Genesis Fund at one of the hotels in Boston. And Jim Rice was one of the featured speakers, and they had a big TV screen behind us in which they were showing highlights. And I remember looking back as I was introducing Jim Rice, and there was a pitch in the lower outside corner. And in the swing, he just comes across with the barrel of the bat and takes that pitch and hits it out into the triangle in center field, 420. And as I'm literally introducing him, and I'm looking over my shoulder, and it was a reminder of what an incredible player he was. Now, he didn't hit 500 home runs, and he didn't win a Gold Glove, but for the period that he dominated baseball, he was a surefire Hall of Famer, and I was very happy to vote for him for the Hall of Fame every year he was on the ballot. Yeah, and we look at that lineup in that 75 World Series team: Jim Rice, Yaz, Carlton Fisk, Dwight Evans, Louis Tiant. Of course, Louis Tiant should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
When you were watching the other night, and then it switches to the third. Well, really, it starts before. Let's do this. You see OB's jacket. You see Lou Merloni's jacket. Eventually, we see Jemai with that fit.
Oh.
What was your favorite part between the graphics, the outfits, our guys on the broadcast going all out? What was your favorite part of that broadcast the other night, honoring the 75 World Series?
Well, Jemai really opened some eyes. He really put his back into it, and he understood the moment, and he was up to it. And he said, "I'm going to have a lot of fun with this." So good for him. I was actually in the booth for a few minutes the night before, and I saw those jackets hanging on a hook. Obi showed me, so this is what we're going to wear. And I said, "Oh, it's going to be hot tomorrow night. Those guys are not going to like this." As I said in the column, when they had the rain delay and they went to the booth shot, they had taken the jackets off. Now, Lou and Obi were both wearing short sleeve white shirts with ties with the headsets on. I invite anybody watching later when this is over, go to YouTube and find the movie Apollo 13 with Tom Hanks and look at all the shots of Mission Control. Every single person in the shots of Mission Control in the movie, short sleeve white shirt, tie, and headsets. You will be. That's the first thought I had when I was watching Lou and Obi with those. Who wears a short white sleeve shirt and a tie anymore? And that really grabbed me.
Hey, smart adaptation by them. When it's that humid, that hot out, you have to wear the jacket. There needs to be some room to breathe somewhere. I do want to shout out, because the outfit stole the show, our guy Thomas Ismadia, he's in the design team here at Ness and makes some of the graphics we see day to day. He also is like, he's the Jim Rice of vintage clothing. I'm telling you, this guy dresses not just like it's 1940, but all the clothing's pristine. He put the outfits together for our broadcast crew. So check him out, Picker Packer Grum on Instagram. Thomas Ismadia put the outfits. I got to say, Steve, my favorite part, the full screen graphic, the simplicity of it, the line through the middle of the screen, saying the teams, saying the scores, saving the innings. In a world where, and trust me, I get enamored by it. Look at our screen right now. I love how it looks. The simplicity of those graphics, Steve, that brought me back. I mean, brought me back to when I was born in '94, but brought me back to how good it looked just to keep things simple. And it was just the first thing that was important was the game. That's what ran through my mind seeing those graphics.
Yeah, for me, it was that when they did the split screen, which, by the way, was really, that's like putting a man on Mars in those days. When we first saw the split screen, we're like, wow, you can see the pitcher and the runner leading. Oh, it was so cool. And they had the big yellow line running down the middle. When I saw those shots, for some reason, I didn't visualize myself at home watching games. My first thought was you'd go to different bars that we'd all hang out, the Shamrock in Inman Square, the Hacienda in East Somerville, and you'd always see the TV. It was not a flat screen. There was one TV on a platform in the upper corner to the left of the bar, and you'd walk in and the game is on. That was my thought when I saw those graphics. My mind took me to whatever hangouts we'd go and have beer and pizza back in those days. And it was, as I wrote, my exact words, it was wonderfully nostalgic.
Damn, Steve, I got to get a drink with you after this segment, man. I like how
I haven't
everything
had a
kind
beer
of
in
triggers
35
where you were
years.
drinking.
We'd be better off going. As George can attest, I'm a coffee shop guy, not a.
Yes.
That's my big night on the town now. So
Mayor of Somerville, Steve Buckley.
Yeah.
Mayor of Somerville. He knows all the good spots.
I'm with it. Steve, I have a Boston sports town question for you. So where I came from, I've been here now almost 4 years. Where I came from, it was a front-runner sports town. Whoever's winning, that's a flavor of the moment. Here, the first thing I noticed, these people are obsessed with their teams. They worship their teams, best fans in America. So my question to you, it felt to me like this is a baseball hockey town when I got here. If you're ranking sort of the 4 major teams, what is it? What is this? If you had to put Boston is a baseball town. Boston's a hockey town. Boston's a football. Boston is the Celtics. Sort of give me the power rankings, maybe, if you will, of the teams around here, Steve.
the easiest way to explain it is the way I'm a columnist with The Athletic, and I have free reign to write within reason whatever I want.
Right.
And the easiest way to answer that question is to tell you how I do my job. Now, for years and years and years, I was at the Herald, and before that, the National Sports Daily. And I didn't do much on the Patriots until the Red Sox were done. In other words, done being either they're out of the pennant race, they've been eliminated from the playoffs, or the World Series is over, which would have been only 75 and 86 in those days. And then you would migrate toward the New England Patriots. It's changed now. The moment the coach of the Patriots rolls out the practice balls down in Foxborough, or before that down in Smithfield, Rhode Island, before that UMass, where they used to have training camp. From the moment training camp begins, I think there's a general fan migration of the Patriots. They have become that important that training camp becomes a lot more important than it used to be in terms of media coverage and fan interest and so forth. And then the Red Sox and Patriots have to compete for that. And if the Red Sox are out of it by training camp, they fall off the radar. They're still in it, and I think they'll continue to be in it to some degree, so there won't be that big fall off. And then with the Celtics and Bruins, in my opinion, it's just who's hot, who's winning. For the last couple of years, it's clearly been the Celtics. They had that great season last year, but a few years before that, I went to the Cup final in 19 in St. Louis with the Bruins, and they were the big show in town. So in the winter, it's obviously you have your Celtics fans, you have your Bruins fans, but to the casual fan, they will go to the hot team during the winter.
I always tell Trav, because he got here just after that 2021 ALCS run. The excitement, the passion is palpable when the Red Sox are in the postseason, and especially putting together a magical run like they did that year. When you look back on 75, someone like me that, I hear about it, I'll watch it on YouTube like the Fisk home run. How do you describe what made that 1975 World Series so epic and memorable?
For one thing, I went to game 1, and I remember Sherm Feller, who was the late, great public address announcer, when he was announcing the starting lineups of the Cincinnati Reds. Now, I had only ever seen, they didn't have interleague play, and they didn't have the MLB package and game of the week. All they had was you could watch one game a week. On Saturday, NBC did the game of the week. And the only time you would see National League Baseball is when the game of the week had a National League game. And in my view, the National League had the bigger stars in those days. The Reds had Pete Rose and Tony Perez and George Foster and Joe Morgan. The Cubs had Ernie Banks and Billy Williams. The Pirates had Willie Stargell and Roberto Clemente. And I used, when there was the game of the week was on and it was like the Tigers and Indians, I'd be disappointed because I can see Al Kaline at Fenway anytime I want. So for me, the big draw of the World Series in 75 was the fact that the Reds had all these great players. I think they said 6 players total from both teams, and that doesn't even include Pete Rose, plus 2 guys who should be in the Hall of Fame, Dwight Evans. Just look at the names. Jim Rice, well, he was injured but didn't play in the World Series, but he was on the team. Jim Rice, Carl Yastrzemski, Carlton Fisk in the Hall of Fame. And then you got Pete Rose, Joe Morgan, Tony Perez, Johnny Bench, Sparky Anderson. I mean, there were just so many stars. It was, even if you not even counting the games, it was an epic World Series just to be a part of.
And I love that. You look back and, the people going, but they lost the World Series. Again, It was the most epic World Series of all time. You brought up 75 and 86. But I want to take Trav into when you and I got coffee that one morning, and you had story after story about the guy that was the architect of getting the Red Sox to not just break the curse, but become the modern-day Boston Red Sox and Larry Lucchino. Can you share with us one of your many that you have favorite Larry Lucchino stories?
Larry once physically assaulted me.
What?
And in other words, I had written something, and he was upset about it, and was at some press conference or something, and I didn't want to talk to him because he was mad at me, and because he barked something at me, and he came up, because come on, don't turn around, and he come up and he kind of shoved me like that. And then I realized that was Larry's way of showing respect, that he felt comfortable. Come on, talk to me like that. And I always go back to that Larry felt comfortable enough in our relationship to like push me. And I had witnesses. I probably could have walked away with $3 million settlement and retired, but I had such great respect for Larry, for his knowledge of the game, for his ambition, for his vision. Larry, two things about Larry. Larry was as good as anybody I have ever met in terms of identifying the right person for the right job. And he surrounded himself with smart people. And that's the hallmark of management. And he was the guy at the top. But when you see all the people he hired and brought in, and like Adam Grossman has this big fancy title, vice president in charge of all these cool things. But I remember when Adam was an intern working for Larry some 20 years ago, and that was Larry at his best. And Larry, you talk about Tiant and Evans should be in the Hall of Fame. Larry should be in the Hall of Fame because all these new retro ballparks, these throwback ballparks, all owe their existence to Larry. And Janet Marie Smith being with the Orioles back in the late 80s, and when they needed to build a new stadium, they came up with Camden Yards. And Larry was the one that okayed using the B&O warehouse in right field as part of the design. There was a very famous sports columnist in Baltimore in those days named John Stedman, and he was appalled that they were going to use this crumbly old warehouse as part of the design because he thought it would ruin the view of the Inner Harbor. But, Larry and Janet Marie Smith, they thought that it would be a cool accoutrement to the ballpark, and it was, and it is, and all these new ballparks borrow from that, from what Larry established in the early 90s when Camden Yards opened.
Yeah, I mean, Trav's a Baltimore kid.
I worked there. I worked in that warehouse.
And you can attest to how cool that is. Yeah, it's Camden Yards. It's a ballpark out in San Diego. It's Fenway Park. And like you said, it's his fingerprints still all over the modern game. And, of course, the 4 World Series rings since 2004.
That's right.
Larry Lucchino, a vital part of bringing that together.
Right.
He's Steve Buckley. Hey, you may not got the $3 million, but I know you got 3 million stories about Boston sports, Steve.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for waking up with us. Steve Buckley of The Athletic. We'll take a break right here on Boston has entered the chat. Hear from Don Sweeney coming up after the break.
You are looking live inside the Salem 5 studio. Travis Thomas, George Balekji here for Boston has entered the chat. And let's talk some hockey here, my friend, because look, the offseason slowing down a bit now.
Yeah.
Kind of feel like, okay, teams coming together here for the Bruins. Marco Sturm, first-year head coach. I just think now, George, it's a matter of, between now and the season, what's the identity of this team? It's establishing an identity. Now, obviously, we know when the puck drops and they start playing games, we'll really be able to figure it out. But you need to have a culture and an identity established before you get there, right?
Yeah, culture is the most important thing. I mean, they have to reestablish something there at this point. And it's no longer Bergeron, Chara, Krejci, they're not walking through that door. Marchand, he's not walking through that door. So it literally is a new era. You can have all your connections to the old time, the spoke to be, what it once was. When Marco Sturm was playing, and he is a connection to a locker room. He was in the dressing room with some of those guys. But you bring in the new head coach, there's going to be new leadership literally on the ice, not just in the coach's office. But when it comes to the identity, that remains to be seen. Because we saw at the trade deadline, get younger, faster, more skilled, more scoring.
Sure.
In free agency, and you could say it's a balance, but there's a difference between NHL players and prospects. And in free agency, we saw the NHL talent acquired go back to those big brutes, forechecking, beat you up all night, and defend, not score a ton of goals. So it remains to be seen what the system will be on the ice. But for right now, the identity of this team, it's the same old Big Bad Bruins. But are the Big Bad Bruins outdated in today's NHL? We'll see.
Well, Don Sweeney pulled up with our Hockey Hubs peeps. Now, this was a great interview. Here's just a snippet. If you want to watch the whole thing, go check out the Hockey Hub. But here it is here.
Well, welcome, guys, and welcome in Don Sweeney, GM of the Boston Bruins. Don, you've been talking to media all week, so thank you for giving us some of your time. I know you don't have a lot of it, but you've been generous with it, and we're going to get right into it. It is July 2nd, a day after free agency opened up, but of course, it's still not closed. Lots of moves might be made by teams coming up in the next couple of weeks, but for now, we're going to focus on what you've been able to do, and I want to start with just the overarching theme. Something you talked about with the guys and girls in the at Warrior yesterday was the identity of the team you want to create going into next season. So can you give us a summary of what you want the Boston Bruins to look like and feel like when they're playing against other teams with these new additions?
Oh, good morning, Casey, Sophia. Thanks for having me on. The last few weeks have certainly been a lot of moving parts, identification of what our team has a chance to look like moving forward. Again, we have some younger players that we certainly want to allow for opportunity for them to make our club. If they're able to contribute in the way we feel that they're capable of, then they're going to get that opportunity. So we started with a little bit of in-house things, and Morgan Geekie and John Beecher and America Zadinov. We took care of our RFA situations and build out our roster from there. Now, we certainly wanted to make sure we were acutely aware of the goal scoring potential in the marketplace and how we were going to try and add to our group. That became a little more difficult, but again, we focused a lot on creating the identity of being a much harder team again. Overall, we were a little disappointed with how we were in games, but not really in games, and we want to make sure that our group is ready to play each and every night. Marco has an attention to detail and structure mentality that our players are going to benefit from moving forward. The lineup itself is still going to be a bit of a moving target, as I referenced some of the younger players, but the veteran guys that we did bring in are going to bring a lot more juice, identity, hardness to play against, which allows some of the skilled guys to have a little more space. I think we'll be a better forechecking team as a result of those moves. And then we're going to rely on a little bit of the return to health mentality of our hockey club that just wasn't last year. So I think we'll be better all across the board defensively, which includes our goaltending. We spoke a little bit about that yesterday in the internal competition. You now have Jeremy that will be in camp, for the full time, and I think we'll get off on the right foot for all of our group to be recharged and energized. I think in particular some of the guys that we addressed, Mikey Esamont, Tanner Janot, Sean Corrali, they just bring a hardness and energy and a ready-to-compete attitude every day, which will carry over for, in a positive manner for all of our group.
Yeah, well, something that's really exciting about gearing towards identity is there seems to be a number of reunions with this free agency group. You've got Arvidsson, who's familiar with Surum. You've got Tanner Janot and Mikey Esamont that played together in Tampa. I actually got a chance to cover him, both of these players. So with the familiarity of a number of these free agents, do you think that's going to help mold the identity and kind of help you guys reach that goal a little bit quicker?
Well, I think it allows the guys to assimilate with each other a little quicker. What's unique, maybe not unique about hockey players, but certainly hockey players are very open to welcoming players. When you have Arvidsson, immediately talking to Elias, and Tanner reaching out to Morgan Geekie because they've crossed paths, and the same thing with Mikey having been a teammate of Tanner. I just think it blends to getting the group to come together a little more quickly than what you might have imagined. Maite Blumel has reached out to David Pasternak, and it felt like he was welcomed into our group immediately. So I think those things show the openness of our team and hockey players in general, and hopefully that will get them on the ground running. Sean Crowley's been in this marketplace. He knows. He grew up under such great leadership, and he became an important leader while Columbus was going through a transition. Now he come back to our group as a really established, very comfortable in his own skin type of player that can add a lot of energy, a lot of leadership, and the specialty team component. PK in particular with Sean was also very important to us.
All right, there it is. George, look, I'm looking at this, and maybe I'm a little too optimistic with this, but it feels to me like the East is wide open in terms of the Bruins getting back to where we want them to be. Now, is that a wild card? Fine, I'm cool with that, but I still do believe this team could be a playoff team, possibly this season.
I mean, the big changeover we've seen is obviously Mitch Marner going out to Vegas, right? And then you think about how the Panthers are pretty much running back everyone in their core and bringing back all the heavy hitters.
Caps ain't getting any younger. There's a lot of old teams in the East.
And we'll see what happens with the Caps if they could even bounce back after what they did as well. That's the big thing of they were the President's Cup, they were the best team, and then they dropped. Rangers, like, they have no path, they have no identity, they just have nothing to them.
Should they blow it up?
Yes.
Am I crazy? Like, it feels like it might be time for the Rangers to...
you build around your goalie, but there is a point, too. They are doing the slow blow up at this point. But, yes, when you talk about all these moving parts, there is not that lead dog in this race when it comes to the East.
Yes.
And with the Bruins, for them, it was clean it up. I mean, the power play was non-existent. They weren't playing smart hockey. Turnovers were killing them, and they were letting up a ton of goals. They need to clean it up in the crease. They need to clean it up in front of the crease. And if you bring in this lineup, and we'll see again, like it's today. What's today? July 3rd.
Yes.
Okay, cool. When we get to the actual puck dropping, October, November time, and when the hockey matters, and really get late into the year, when the hockey really matters, what will the lineup look like? And that'll be the identity of this team. But they have the foundation of this is a team that can go out, beat you up, win tight games. You know, be good enough to play good hockey. That should be the minimum. They weren't doing it last year, so we'll see what they do this year. But the East, no, 100% you're right.
Yeah.
The East is wide open, but I can't look at the Bruins and go, it's wide open for them to steal.
That's what I'm saying.
They need to show that they can at least be in the mix.
That's why I brought up wild card.
I think it's a great point.
If we're being realistic here, if this team can hover around a wild card, the East should be open enough for them to get there.
I wish I had more confidence talking about a wild card.
Same.
That's what we all want here in Boston.
Confidence on Boston has entered the chat. Thanks for rolling with us on Nesson, but the party ain't over. Stay with us on Nesson Nation. Come on, baby. Boston has entered the chat. We're just getting started.